This week we had a really nice conversation with our friend Trevor Larkin over Zoom.
Yes, good Zoom chat.
And we were planning on sharing some of our experiences performing online shows, but he ended up having such good insight that we just wanted to give him the space that he deserves.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of good insight. He's a touring musician, a guitar player, but songwriter, lyricist, artist, as well as a thinker alike. So he had a lot of good insight given the recent circumstances. And
yeah, and he's an artist himself. He has music online, so if you like what you heard him say,
which how can you not? He's
we have to get better.
Okay.
Listen to Trevor's music
Yes.
online. Okay, I'll start again.
Let the lessons lead us. Let the lessons lead us. So please.
Some really inspiration to see you out there doing some videos and stuff. So it's good to kind of come full circle, and now we can kind of just I don't know.
Yeah. Oh no, and you know, as you guys know, I'm huge fans. Fans to a creepy degree, arguably. I still listen to the Fawkes Hownd stuff almost every day. I do. It brings me great joy. No, and actually those recordings actually were, in all seriousness, a big inspiration for what I'm doing now in terms of like the vibe and the aesthetic. And there's such like a wistful and kind of earnest, contemplative like quality to your music that I really love.
Sit in your living room and sing your songs the way that you wrote them, and just be like, this is it.
Especially now where everything is so different, you know, I think it's
the only option.
Yeah. No, it's felt, I know for me, I don't know how it's felt for you, but it's actually, well, I mean, this has been such a really a difficult time.
Yeah.
And it has felt good at least to you know, in my case, to kind of pull back from the bigger music industry and just know that, okay, like that's gone indefinitely.
Yeah.
And so let me kind of go the complete opposite direction. Let me break ground quietly on this humble project and let me do it all myself. Let me see it all to the finish line. So if it stinks, you can point a finger, you know exactly who the culprit is. You know?
But anyway, so in that same vein, we had a couple questions if you just wanted to give your wisdomous insight.
I just wanted to start with asking, how has the pandemic affected your career and your employment opportunities? Because of course it's directly affected you, but I just wanted you to speak on that from your experience.
Well, you know, as I'm sure some of your viewers and listeners know, and some of your viewers and listeners don't know, I'm a member of the Alan Stone Band, an internationally touring, successful thing of doers of stuff. That's on the Wikipedia page. You can look it up. And we were about halfway through the first headline tour for the new album cycle when the lockdown occurred. About March, I think we played our last show in Memphis, March 12th. And then the tour was canceled. And then March 13th, I headed back to Nashville. And then March 14th, I got very, very, very sick. So the timing was great in that sense.
Like how sick?
The corona.
It was COVID. So it was, I was very sick, like 104-degree fever, like very like crazy shortness of breath. It was intense. It was very intense.
Virus?
I did.
Trevor?
Oh no.
You can leave that in or you can edit it out. Whatever you want to do. Yeah. Yeah. So the last 2 weeks of March, I was very sick. And then the first week or two of April got much better every day. And so I've been healthy and symptom free since mid-April. So it's fine. But how it's impacted my career and livelihood, it's had a profound impact on my career and livelihood. At the moment, there isn't really a livelihood to speak of, you know, and I think that is a reality of virtually every musician, whether you're in a band or whether you're on the management side or the booking side or really every aspect of our business. As far as career goes, it's also been significant. I mean, I think one of the big question marks for anyone in a band of any size is, how do you come back from something like this? And I think one of the most difficult, or maybe the most challenging demographic is bands at the level of the Alan Stone Project, where like you're going out and you're selling a couple thousand tickets every night and business is great and everyone's happy. But, we're not the Eagles, you know what I mean? There's not necessarily like a giant surplus of cash from which you can just exist indefinitely. So, I'm confident that the Alan Stone Project will return in some iteration when it's safe and appropriate to do that. And so along the lines then of the career question too, one of the things that I'm really trying to do now is really focus on this new project, this sort of multi-volume EP project that I'm centering around this concept of hiraeth, which I'm pronouncing poorly, but it's a Welsh word, and it means, it's basically mourning and feeling that sense of loss for a home to which you can never return, which seems like a pretty apt kind of encapsulation of everything that we're kind of going through right now. And everyone experiences this idea of hiraeth in their own way. And so what I'm trying to do with these songs is keep them, again, kind of very much inspired by you guys, actually, keeping this first volume like, pretty acoustic and pretty minimal, and reaching out specifically to touring musician friends of mine or people I've met on the road, directly or indirectly. Yeah. Because I mean, that's really how I met you guys, was through Tyler Carroll, the bass player for Alan Stone at the time. So, and we agreed before recording, or maybe during recording, depending, that you guys were both going to sing on a song as well. So you'll be included in this project too. So in terms of career, I'm excited about that. I'm excited. It's time for me to do something different.
As unfortunate as it is, I think the pandemic and the whole quarantine and lockdown has given, especially artists, like a platform to say, okay, I'm going to do this for myself, and just be a little bit selfish and say, oh, that project that I've always wanted to do that I haven't ever had the time to do or couldn't justify financially, focusing on, but then I haven't, like I was saying to Justin earlier, I in particular haven't felt very inspired. Like, you'd think that with everything going on globally, that artists would have something to write about, but like, I don't know about you, but I mean, Justin's always writing songs like every single day, but I just like have been not very inspired in particular. And we also wanted to ask you about that. Like, I'm sure you've already answered the question, but have you felt inspired in particular by what's going on, or the complete opposite?
No, I haven't felt inspired at all. What has happened though is there is an evolution and an expansion of like what I sort of refer to as like my creative continuum. I think that, so certainly when I was younger, the primary outlet was playing guitar, and it kind of all centered around playing, being a guitar player. And I think, a lot of people who would consider themselves songwriters, they focus on songwriting, and if the songs are flowing, then they feel productive and they feel inspired. But, for me, what I've really come to appreciate is, some days, all I can do is just sing, some days all I can do is play. Some days I can sit down and I can write forever. Some days all I can do is mix. Some days all I can do is edit. Some days all I can do is run around. Some days all I can do is be sad. But it all is part of the same creative continuum. It's all part of the same thing. And so I think, and, because it's me who's doing it, it comes from here, which you can't see. So I'm the heart region, right there. So, I usually am pretty prolific when it comes to writing songs. I've been less prolific during this time, but I've really given myself permission to just, for me, the key thing is just momentum, just doing something. And, prior to the Zoom call, I was nudging kick drums, and like that's a creative thing. That's an extra dimension and an extra level of just like attention to the craft. Yeah, which I really love, and I find that inspiring. That's a side of my thing that I've never really explored before. So I have learned during the past 4 months to really trust my instinct and my intuition more fully. Just what do I feel like doing today? Because it all comes from the same place. It's all gonna take me to the same destination. So I think of it less as inspiration, maybe, and more so as just really taking a moment to kind of just like meditate on the moment and just what can I get out of this? And if the answer is nothing, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because like an appreciation of that and not penalizing myself for that ultimately leads to a positive, okay, let me step up and try again and see what happens. But I guess one of the nice things about having, being so interested in so many different things and having had a lot of creative outlets in the past, and I guess I still do, is if I feel burnt out on one thing, like if that second verse is really just kicking the shit out of me, I have no problem just setting that aside and doing some written word stuff, or I have no problem setting that aside and doing, some video editing. I have no problem setting that aside and just reading, because it all kind of, it all energizes me.
I've always illustrated. I've always been interested in drawing, and recently, just given the fact that music, after 4 weeks straight in quarantine, it just didn't do it anymore, and I needed something else to do. I fell back on that a lot, and in that, it's kind of that same reflection where it's like, that seems healthy. It seems like what I want to do, and we're so trained to not do what you want to do for some reason. But like you, I mean, you're above us as far as experiences in the industry and time on the earth, and it's like, I think everyone takes
I'm an old man. That's fine. You don't have to pull any punches.
I was like, he's gonna say something about his age.
I know, but it's true, and hearing you reflect on that, it's good, because I've had some of these feelings where you have to trust that you forged the iron. You did it, you hammered it away, and now you can take it to battle, and you don't have to necessarily worry, well, am I going to be without a sword? Am I going to be fucked again? It's like, no, I trust what I did. I trust this life I've lived. I trust the experiences, and I'll be fine given the reset.
And that's why I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm going to keep being a musician. I'm going to keep being an artist. I'm going down, even if I'm part of the string quartet on the Titanic. I'm going down, baby. I've never had a real job. It's too late for me,
I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about it, and I don't have to use any of it, but I'm curious to hear your experience being sick.
Well,
like, hospitalized, or were you able to be at home and just kind of write it out?
I was able to be at home. So for me, I was lucky in the sense that I experienced every every like textbook symptom of COVID in order, exactly how you'd expect. And everyone in the touring party got sick. Everyone in the touring party was confirmed with COVID. We were in New York just as that was starting to kind of blow up. We were in Toronto just as that was starting to kind of blow up in terms of a hotspot. So yeah, and I also experienced the typical thing where, you're sick and you feel kind of like flu-like symptoms for about a week, and then it dips and you're like, oh, cool, whatever, I'm turning the corner on it. And then it just absolutely kicks in the ass. And that's what happened to me. And fortunately, the timing was such that the tour was canceled and sent home. And literally the night that I got home, you just wake up in full, just sweat, having sweated through everything, and just crazy shortness of breath, and super high fever. And that was the issue for me, is that, the fever was so high that you start to hyperventilate, but you can't take in enough. So I would have to jump in the shower and kind of regulate my temperature and stuff. And it was, I was able to kind of keep it under, once I just sort of like, okay, I know what this is, and just take a shit ton of Advil and just like keep the fever broken and just kind of hunker down. And that's what I did.
I wanted to mention, it's funny because the last show that Justin and I actually went to, the last live show, was Alan Stone in Toronto. And we were there with my cousin, and somebody sneezed next to her. And we got all scared, and we were trying to keep our distance from the crowd, but obviously it was at a theater, so we weren't able to do that. And I remember being a little bit scared, but it wasn't so real yet. Mm-hmm. But that was the last live music experience that we had.
Yeah. It was virtually the last live music experience I had too. Yeah. No, it was crazy. It was crazy how it kind of went down too, because, we were in Memphis. And at that point, Seattle was one of the original hotspots. So at that point, Seattle was really, people were starting to realize how serious it was in that area. And San Francisco was starting to get a lot of cases as well. And so we were keeping tabs on it. And then we got word like in the morning that like, look, high likelihood they'll want to postpone the Seattle shows, but that's okay. Tour moves on as planned. You'll just have a couple of days off in the Northwest and then go up to Vancouver and do the show and then all that. And then it's, oh, well, you know, the San Francisco shows are probably gonna be postponed too. But that's fine. A couple of days off in Sacramento, go down to LA, whatever it is. And then, they're gonna postpone Portland as well. And it just kind of kept going and going and going. So within the space of about 6 hours, it went from awesome tour to everything canceled. It was crazy. And even after the tour was canceled and we all went home, I was still like, oh, but you know, like we'll still go to Australia in April. I'm pretty confident that'll happen. I completely whiffed on the severity of this thing. And of course now everything is sort of on hold indefinitely. So it's, I don't think that anyone really knew well, when I say not everyone, no one really knew. Certainly no one in my immediate circle at that time knew how serious this was going to be. And it really, and here we all are, you know, so it has been such an abrupt change in my life and my career trajectory and kind of what I thought the next couple, you know, because start of the album cycle, you kind of know what the next couple of years are going to be. And, you know, I'm trying my best.
What do you think is probably the best and the worst part of maybe live music being online for the time being? Like, what do you see as the, you know, big ups and big downs of now just kind of being forced to project to the world from where you are a little more?
Well, it's an interesting question. I guess I haven't really thought about it in terms of ups and downs because it is the option that is available. And I know for me, I've done a handful of like private Zoom shows, which were great. I didn't have to promote anything.
Yeah.
Invitation only. I could just show up and do the thing. I set up in my kitchen. I set up like all these props and stuff. It was fun. You know, I think like what I enjoyed about it is that it was, you know, it was a pretty small group of people of both shows that I've done so far, but they were people who really wanted to be there and are now like really invested in what I'm doing. And it's a new audience and a new network of people. And so, you know, that will open up some opportunities down the road. So it's great. And I like that performing online, I mean, it's always been an option and it's always been sort of like a quasi-viable option, but now I think it is just part of, you know, it's just part of all of our skill sets now. You know, I know for me, like I have a much more like kind of put together sort of like online rig or whatever now. And so I will continue to like do shows online and share music live online. For me, having come up as a live performer and having experienced a lot of success and had a lot of kind of, you know, really formative experiences as a live performer, it would never, Zoom concerts and stuff like that will never take the place of a gig and being in front of people and that energy and that like real primal kind of visceral urge to share and communicate in that way. And I don't think anyone is asking that of Zoom, but I'm already, I don't know if you guys are noticing the same thing, but I'm already noticing sort of like a waning in popularity for like online shows. It's sort of like people hit it hard and it was everywhere. And now it's just like, look, we get it. So much of our life exists through a screen anyway. And that is just a little bit of like a demoralizing, arguably kind of demoralizing experience at the best of times. So I think like an expression of joy and sharing art and community through a screen only takes you so far. You know, a lot of my peers have not done it because they've just like, oh, well, this is bullshit, you know. It's not the gig, man. You know, where's my free Jägermeister or whatever shit.
Yeah.
But as you both know, like I'm sort of terrified of being this sort of like get off my lawn kind of curmudgeonly sort of dude. So I'm just like, sure, let's try it. Let's just like do stuff. Let's see how it feels.
Yeah.
You know? But how is your experience with online shows? Because I bought a ticket to your show, and I got the code. They sent me the code, and everything looked great, and it wouldn't let me into the show.
Yeah. See, on that note, that is one of the issues that I have run into specifically on Zoom while performing. Especially for my first show, I did a show by myself at the very beginning of quarantine to kind of test the waters and see how it went. And it went swimmingly, but I did have a number of people say that they couldn't enter, and then once I was already doing the show, I couldn't help to, you know, people were texting me and saying I can't get in or whatever, but I was already performing and didn't want to be like, oh, hold on a second. You know?
Of course.
And so that's one of the things that I've run into is that Zoom, especially doing it through like a third party, Zoom has certain things that they like to change randomly. But aside from that, I think my personal experience has been okay. It's been nice to be able to reach people all over the world, but in terms of fans, and it's hard to say to a fan, spend an hour of your evening staring at your computer listening to my music that you've probably already heard before on Spotify.
Which would sound better if I weren't playing it live for you.
Yeah, exactly. Which would sound better in the room. Yeah, it has historically been difficult for me to like accept generosity, you know, or maybe even kindness in some ways from people. So like, because that, you know, so I've been sort of trying to use these Zoom concerts as practice for that as well. Just like, look, these people, like, they really want to support me. They certainly don't have to be doing this. Yes, the person is putting me on mute and then going and like cooking their dinner or whatever while I'm doing the, you know, so, and like, yes, that feels weird. And yes, that wouldn't happen at like a sold out theater show for the Alan Stone Band, but this person is there supporting, and I will accept that generosity and like understand like kind of where their heart is. And for someone like me, that is a really I mean, you both are infinitely sort of kind and angelic and well-adjusted. For someone like me, there's an important lesson to learn is that people, if you seek out the helpers, if you seek out the people who are really actually invested in you in the arts and really trying the best that they can, that is on balance the best thing that you can do, and arguably the only thing you really should be doing. And so if that looks a little bit different than would be ideal for me, I'm totally okay with that. And another thing along those lines that I'm trying to remind myself is like, if this is, so I'm going to use a Metallica reference here, so if I lose you or your viewers, I apologize. But like, if the Zoom concert is the Saint Anger of performance, in other words, if it is the shitty record that is needed to bridge the gap between the good record and then the other good record, you know, then fine. I'm fully willing to accept that Zoom is the Saint Anger of live performance. But just allow your listener, just go on Spotify and listen to Saint Anger and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a terrible album, but it got them to Death Magnetic, which is a great album, in my opinion.
Can you do that again, but in Rush albums? Oh wait, they don't have any bad albums, I don't think.
Now see, we are in agreement there. Talking about Rush with a Canadian.
Yeah.
Oh no! But here we go. So this could be the Zoom concert could be okay. Sorry, we're going deep here, but hopefully, I don't know, maybe a decent amount of your viewership are Canadians. I don't know. Are they nerdy dudes? Then they might get this reference. But like, the Zoom concert is the caress of steel of live performance. So Caress of Steel is a Rush record that was not well received by critics or fans, and it's not that great of a record. But it was the record between Fly By Night, I think, and 2112.
Yeah.
Had it not been for the shitty, weird record Caress of Steel, they never would have got to 2112. Had it not been for Zoom concerts, the Caress of Steel / Saint Anger / whatever the hell you want to throw in there of live performing, we will not get to whatever the next stage of the evolution is in our business.
Yeah. Maybe it's that shifting for me, noticing like, okay, now I don't have to push so hard. I don't need to be in the city where everything's going down. I don't need to live in, like, I don't need to be anywhere. I just need to be happy. And I just know that if I'm doing my music, if I'm drawing, if I'm moving forward in graphic design, if I'm, recording more on my own, pushing those chops just similarly, it's like, well, then that's also the example we're setting moving forward from an epidemic like this. It's like, regardless of what our leadership is doing, it's like, yeah, putting that out there and sorting through these demons, so to speak, like our own demons that a lot of people haven't dealt with.
Well, and if you think about like how weird and fucked up of a statement is it to just be like, yeah, like, because I've said the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, I just like being happy is really what's important.
Mm-hmm.
That we're so removed from that as being a priority, especially as artists. I mean, that's a sad thing, And so absolutely, if this is an opportunity to just be like, God, I want to be around people I love.
Yeah.
I want to live in a beautiful place where I feel inspired, where I feel safe.
Yeah.
I just want to do shit that I want to do. I don't want to do your dumb bullshit. That's a great, what a beautiful foundation, And I'm, in my own way, I'm kind of trying to find that for myself. And I feel like I'm circling around some good stuff. But, well, and that, to your earlier question too, about how do you see the industry coming back, or how do you, like the future of live shows or whatever, it's not like the music business was this bouncy castle of delights. It's not like it was this great functional business. The music business is a disgrace on a lot of levels in terms of how it's run and like what it yields, and that's not a controversial statement. I've been deeply embroiled in it. I've been working in what I call the deep music business for many years, and I've had like all the things, the major label record deal and the big fancy management and all this it all doesn't really look the way you think it does. So now that stuff is sort of indefinitely on pause. So it's a great opportunity for me to go, well, like, I'm not an idiot. I've always thought that person over there stunk. And now I don't have to deal with anything. I can well and truly, make some decisions for myself and just try things. So just like make art and put it out however you choose. Start a YouTube series, like whatever feels good, just do that, or do nothing. That's also great too. I have to remind myself that it's like, if I spoke to someone and I was like, how are you handling yourself in the pandemic? Like, oh, it's I'm learning this, I'm learning that, and I've written all this music and I've got this record to release and it's great. I'm like, cool, that sounds wonderful. If I ask the next person, so how are you doing in the pandemic? And I got, you know what? I just put everything on hold for 4 months and I'm just learning how to be a person. I'd be like, amazing. That sounds great. So, it just, the only thing that matters is that you are getting up the next day and doing whatever it is that you're doing with some intention.
I think finding what feels good, like you said, is very important. I'm starting to write a book about songwriting, which is like my dream.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's like a Google Doc of me just,
Sure.
Random words, but that has been something that has been, a theme in the book also, is just finding what feels good, because I want to write a book about songwriting that is not telling people what to do, rather just giving suggestions and saying, but, everybody's different and everybody writes differently. And just, if this doesn't work for you, then just find what feels good and stick to it. And that goes for, everything.
Well, I hope you continue to kind of make progress on that book, because I would love to read it.
Oh yeah, it's starting great.
It's just like a few pages of a Word document right now, but it's I'm kind of also, as Justin is, and as you probably are, finding things out about myself during this lockdown, and I'm realizing what I actually really want to do, and that's one of them, is just be a part of other people's journey to better songwriting. And I just want to write songwriting books and talk to people about their songs and how they can make them better.
That is one of the silver linings of what we're going through as well, is that you can, everything is just so trying and everything is kind of turned on its head, that you start to kind of look at things in that bigger picture, just like, I like, what is important to me? I want to be happy. I want to help people. I want to feel that connection. And that really is what is inspiring to me. And if you have that, then that can look like a whole bunch of different things at any given moment. Yeah. It can look like being really generous with your process, like you're talking about. It can look like continuing to release music. It can look like so many things, and
look like all of the above.
Yeah,
exactly. It can look like everything, because it's not just like I'm a musician who does X. It's I want to help people.
Yeah.
you know, and I think that is a product of being cut off and being isolated, is that you sort of understand, you're just like, man, this is actually what fuels me.
Yeah.
And I'm really feeling like I'm feeling the lack of this like giant sort of nebulous thing. I don't know what it is, but you know, I know what it is now. And it's the sense of this, I want to help people.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing to learn. Well, not that you necessarily learned this about yourself, but what a beautiful thing to really sit down and go, yes, this is it. This is the defining statement.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing.
Feels good. It kind of feels like getting past the point on guitar or something where you hit that and it's like, oh, you learn this, and then it's like, oh God, okay, now I can move on. And it's kind of like that shift where it's like, okay, I'm ready now. I can just kind of move on. But on that same vein, I wanted to talk to you because I love what you said about the intention, and that's really all creative happiness, I think, at the end of the day is. If you have some outlet in which you actually intend to put yourself into it, if you have the will to complete this task, whatever it is.
It goes back to intention as well, because I think it's the one thing where you're like, you know, if there's a reason and there's an understanding why you're doing something, then that something has merit. If you're doing a Zoom concert because you're just like, well, fuck, I'm out of work, I got to play for these goddamn schlubs somehow, so let me strum along a ding dong. Here's your dumb show, you idiots. Then that's that's awful. But if you understand, it's like, no, this is a means to an end. I'm connecting with an audience in a different way. I'm thinking about the presentation of my art in a different way. I'm recontextualizing a space, an office space, a kitchen in my case. You know, if you understand, and so the why behind it is like, I am delving into my artistry in a more nuanced way. That's why I'm doing this show. I'm not doing the show as a substitute for a live gig. I'm not doing the show to recreate the experience of being on tour. I'm doing this show to move my own artistry along and to pay attention to that, you know, and not necessarily try and manipulate it into even being like something you feel stoked about. Just being open to like what that experience feels like, because that in turn emboldens you to do maybe something else that you wouldn't normally do. Yeah. So like the intention behind everything that we're doing right now as artists is really important. And that can be as big as just, why am I putting 2 feet on the ground today? Or it can be as nuanced as what I was doing before we started having this wonderful chat, which is like, okay, like, does this kick drum need to be on the beat? Doesn't need to be right behind the beat, but maybe it needs to be on the beat, because then the bass can be slightly behind the beat, and then the guitars can sit here. Yeah. Okay. All right. I will say goodbye for now, but I'll be talking to you guys soon. And this was a lot of fun, and I'm really excited that you guys are doing the show.
Oh, thanks, brother. It means a lot, really.
Thanks.
You've inspired us just as much, if you can believe it. I appreciate you.
Okay. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah.
Love you, brother.
Yeah. Bye.